information that some of our citizens were going to the front line in wars abroad, in particular in the Russia-Ukraine war, and that some of them have been losing their lives. Quite a lot of them, have lost their lives. So, and this got us worried, and that is why we took this position.
Do you know how many have been recruited to go there?
Well, we're yet to confirm. So what we have done is that the government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have engaged our diplomatic mission abroad in Moscow to give us the report so that we know exactly, the mode of recruitment, perhaps if they could have it, the number of casualties, number of people who have been recruited. And we are waiting for that report. Currently, they are doing the investigations for us.
And what do you know about how these Gambians ended up in Russia?
Well, that is the thing. That is the problem here, that we don't know yet. And that is what we are finding out. This is all, it's not new, but for us, the position we've just taken it because we've realized that we've been observing it and monitoring the situation over time. And we realized it wasn't abating and that more and more Gambians were going and more Gambians were losing their lives. And now we are investigating, and perhaps when the investigations are done, we'll get a clearer picture of exactly what is happening, who is going, where they are going, and how they are going.
You've been observing over time. What information have you found so far?
Well, we've been getting, drips of information online, sometimes informally, that some Gambians were going out, not only Gambian, but also Africans, and Gambians included. And we are not getting confirmation of this previously. But once the story starts to get traction and we start to see, stories that were coming that looked real, that prompted us to act in this way.
But Minister, the Gambians who are listening to you and you say that you do not have any information at all about how this has been done, you have been observing, surely they wouldn't feel any sense of assurance from their government and they would feel exposed if this has been going on for a while and you do not know anything about it.
No, what we are saying is that we did not confirm what has been going on. We've been monitoring the news coming out from the, affected zones that some Africans were going to fight in these wars, and Gambians included. We did not get the full picture. We did not get the full story. And once it starts to get traction, it is when we acted and reassigned our mission in Moscow to really get us the information that they can get.
And beyond issuing that warning against your citizens traveling to Russia to join that fight, what else is the government doing to try and prevent this flight of youth?
Well, for now, we're just waiting for the information that we need. Apart from the fact that we issued a press release, a very strong-worded press release, discouraging and, in fact, warning our citizens not to engage in these activities, and that the government made it very clear in an explicit manner that it does not authorize, endorse, or support the participation of any Gambian citizen in any foreign armed conflict. And that we also made it very clear that an individual who elects or who chooses to engage in such hostilities abroad does so entirely at their own personal risk, but also at their own personal capacity, without the backing of the state. And it's difficult. Obviously, these are adults, these are mature people. You don't have control over who leaves the country and who comes into the country. And it's difficult. That is why not to act in a random manner, not to act in a manner where we don't have the right information so that we can be able to act on that information as a government. That is why we've assigned our mission to give us the full facts. So when we get those facts, it is now we can be able to know exactly the extent of the activity, who is involved, how they do it, how it happens, and then we can be able to act. But for now, we are waiting for that information.
We have spoken to a number of Africans who have returned or who have had difficulties trying to leave the battlefront or to even leave Russia to return to their countries, and their families are desperate to have their kin back. What support is your government offering to Gambians who find themselves trapped there and want to return to the Gambia?
So that is why, exactly. So, again, the mission will have to give us that information. We have not had any family in the Gambia that has come up to the government to say, hey, this is happening. Or we have not had any any report.
But in case you do hear of families, surely you will not be waiting for the families to first say that we are desperate. Are you putting in place any plans at all? What kind of support can you offer those who may have been lured and gone to fight in Ukraine?
Now, obviously, as a government, we'll support any family that is affected. That is why we've, in the press release that we issued, depends on what support they need. Every situation is unique in its own sense. We'll have to assess the situation and see what support they need. It could be financial support, it could be advice, it could be guidance, it could be counseling. It depends on the support they need. We have to assess every situation and act accordingly.
Minister, these are people whose lives are at risk. They could lose their lives in Ukraine on the battlefront, and it doesn't sound like you're treating this as an emergency.
But we are treating it as an emergency, but you cannot also act if you don't get the full facts and the right information. We will engage if indeed this is the situation that we have our citizens fighting in a war in Ukraine or any other part of the world. We will engage that government that affects that particular conflict, and we'll see what, using our bilateral partnerships, to see what support we can give these people and see what we can do. But for now, like I said, we have very scant information that we can act on. We cannot be able to assess properly and have a mechanism in place to be able to give support if you don't get the right information as to who exactly is involved, where are the families. Like I said, we're monitoring over time. Right. We've been hearing news that some Africans were fighting in these wars, and very recently, a report came up that some Gambians were involved, and we we acted immediately after getting that report. Previously, there was nothing like Gambians were involved in it, getting that proper information. Now that we have it, that information that some Gambians might be involved in this war, that is why we're acting as a government.
Dr. Ismaila Sese, the Gambia's Minister for Information, thank you.